It may take me 5 months to get around to it, but I do respond to requests in the comments for painting battle mechs. Welcome everyone, if you're new here, I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield, and today's tutorial comes from a request from a comment from 5 months ago, give or take a bit, by Scott Longworth for Clan Ice Hellion. I got the Alpha Galaxy painted up right here, so that's what I'm going to show you today. Now this is not a speed paint because, well, it requires a fair bit of fine brush control with the most obnoxious color to paint. So maybe 2 hours-ish per battle mech, but it's not a particularly hard tutorial, it just takes a little while. So along these lines here though, if you do have a certain unit, clan, or mercenary company you want to see me paint up, put a comment down below, and maybe in a few months I'll get to it. Anyway, let's start the painting process. As usual, the first step is to start by applying the spray primer. Here I've got the black color from Army Painter's War Paint series. Nothing too fancy here, but I am using my custom 3D printed priming tool. You can find a link to my Etsy store where I sell the STL files for this particular tool down in the description of this video. So our first step is going to start pretty much the same way we start all these mechs, but we're not going to end this initial set of steps the same way we always start these mechs, if that makes sense. So to begin, let's get some basic gray. I've got Dawnstone gray from Games Workshop's line of paints, and just do some dry brushing all over the mech. We're going to carry on with another step of dry brushing. This time I've got a lighter gray color. I've got Negative from CvltCraft's line of paints. If you don't have a lighter gray color, just take an off-white or white color, mix it in with your base gray, and go from there. Once both those two layers have dried, we're moving on to what is probably the trickiest step. I'm going to be using a shade. In this case, I've got Beiltan green from Games Workshop's Citadel line of paints. But what I need to do is try to give a nice pale green color to this mech. And to accomplish that, I got to water down this shade quite a bit and maybe even apply a few layers of the watered down shade. If you apply a few too many, you get something that looks kind of like a Go Michigan State Spartans mech, and we're not trying to do that today. So, carefully water down the shade, apply a layer, let it dry. If it looks too light, apply another layer, let it dry, and repeat the process until you've got a look that you like. So this step now is going to be the longest. What you need to do is paint about 40 to 50% of the armor panels white, and of course getting clean paint jobs with white paint is miserable. It's going to require 2 or 3 layers of thinned down white paint. So very carefully, using a detail brush, I've got an artificer layer extra small brush. I'm going to paint about half the armor panels, wait for them to dry, and repeat the process 2 or 3 times until I get a good final look. As for which armor panels to paint up, well, it's up to you, whatever you think looks cool. There isn't exactly a rhyme or reason to this clan's paint job. Now the camouflage for these guys gets a little odd. You've got 2 layers to it. The first is a bright blue color. I've got Simone from CvltCraft's line of paints. And this is almost like a scratching effect, like claws from animals scratching the surface. We have a bunch of blue lines just really close together that makes it look like it's a patch of blue, but it is separate individual lines. So I'm going to place this in several places around the mech. It's kind of up to you how you want it to look and where you want it to go. With the first layer of camouflage down, we've got a second layer, which is a darker blue color. This time I'm using Cantor Blue from Games Workshop, Citadel line of paints. And this sits on top of those scratches, but there's less of it. So each region of light blue scratches might have 2 or 3 patches or lines of this darker blue color. With the camouflage being done, we got a few final details before we can call this mech complete. And of course the last step here is painting things like the laser barrels, other weapon barrels, and then the cockpit. For Ice Hellion Alpha Galaxy, we're looking at some sort of orange paint. I'm going to be using Tempest from CvltCraft's line of paints, but any kind of brightish orange will work well for this step. Regardless of what manufacturer paint you go with, orange paint has this nasty tendency to have really thinned down pigment, so you may have to apply 2 or 3 layers to each of the sections for this step. This is the point in the painting process where, because I don't actually have a script, I started thinking, did I say last step already? Because there's actually 2 more steps to go. The Koshi has a bit of a metal frame around its cockpit glass, so I'm going to add that in with a little bit of Dawnstone Gray from Games Workshop's Citadel line of paints. For the final step in the painting process, we're going to bring some detail back out. For that, I'm going to be using Nuln Oil. It's a shade from Games Workshop's Citadel line of paints. I'm going to be carefully applying it in between armory panels and any other interesting recesses to get some contrast between the high areas of the armor and the little details in between. And with the wash applied, it's looking pretty good. We can call this paint job complete. And well, there you go. That's one more Battletech paint tutorial in the books. Only like 978 or so more to go, because there's just that many different military units in the history of Battletech. And that's probably not counting all the interesting fan creations that might be fun to do some tutorials on as well. So anyway, you know what the subscribe button is. You want to see more of these. And if there is a specific regiment from the house or a clan galaxy, I think I got that right. Galaxy sounds right, or cluster, or something along those lines of stupid clan terminology. Feel free to post it in the comments below, and maybe I'll get to it at some point. Like I said, I got other content coming out too. So anyway, thank you guys all for watching. Once again, I'm Jason, and I'll see you next time.